Good morning, Metaverse. I'm Thor with the OCG and the Red Hand, and today is the D9 day. We're going to talk about the Pearce D9, the latest ship to be released, and we will review that. After that, I will actually be talking about whether Star Atlas is the right game for you to join right now, and what kind of mindset you should probably have in order to fully enjoy the game and the community. So look at the timestamps below. Skip ahead if you can't wait to hear what my opinions are, and let's get into it. All right, the D9. So this is a really cool ship. There have been several other reviews of this that I've seen already, but I don't think people are giving it the time of the day that it deserves. So I want to dive into the things that I really think are important about this ship. I think it might be one of the highest levels of utility that we get out of any ship so far in Star Atlas. The origination price is $30,000. It's quite expensive right now for the average Joe. And the rarity is legend. It is a salvage type capital ship. So it's the first salvage ship that we've seen. So this is interesting. Let's go through the crew. You have one captain, two pilot, two co-pilot, two scanner, two turret gunner, two drone operators, two engineers, two repair engineers, one tractor beam operator. That is pretty big though. And then one cargo foreman and two salvage operators. Gotta keep that stuff on lockdown. So then we go on to the components. Well, first note, remember that the amount of people, the amount of crew that you have directly impacts the speed by which you're able to manufacture and craft items. That comes into play a little bit later. So let's look at the components. Everything is capital slot components except for the hard points. Okay, so the hard points, there are 14 hard points, but they are medium size. Not capital, not large, but medium. So that is a massive reduction in firepower. And that means that the game style, the play style of the D9 is going to be completely different than any other capital type ship. Now, the Metaverse Explorer actually described the D9 as a tick. And I think that is actually probably a perfect description of what it looks like. It looks like a tick, but it acts like a vulture. When the ships are in battle and one gets destroyed, the carcass is left there and the other faction guild flies off, the D9 swoops in and starts feasting on that carcass. If another big ship, anything that's a large ship or larger, is going to outgun it, so the D9 needs to fly off and then circle back around when the carcass is abandoned again, just like a vulture. So if you're going to play the D9 in that play style, then I think you're going to be able to utilize it massively, and there's a lot of utility to it. So let's take a look at the modules. The modules, you have one capital slot salvage, which we've never heard before. You have one capital slot cargo. You have one capital slot drone port, which I think was going to be cool, and then a large fuel slot. Now, what is a salvage slot? So I'm going to go up to the description, and it says, descend to the below decks and check out all the onboard processing, recycling, and refinement facilities. Cool. So this is the refinement facilities, recycling facilities on board. Now, when I heard that, my mind just exploded with possibilities. If you're able to process this salvage and turn it into raw materials, or I should say the refined materials that you need to build, then you're taking, I would imagine, the only other place that you would be able to take salvage is to a starbase, which is a fixed position, and particularly far away from the outer regions, like the high-risk zone, for example. Well, if you're able to take a portion of that starbase, its refining ability, and mobilize it out to those outer regions of space, now you have taken the value in salvage and expanded its reach, where it would have taken so much fuel and time to go all the way out and bring it back to the starbase. Now you can take a D9 and meet them halfway or almost on spot. And that type of time saver is huge when you're trying to maximize the efficiency of a given operation. Another part of the ship are the drones. And so the drones, when you get onto site, when you go to a ship carcass, instead of manually cutting, which it does have the mandibles, and I imagine there will be some really fun gameplay as far as just manipulating the ship and tearing it apart and collecting, but you have the drones that you can send out, and it looks like they have lasers that will be able to cut through and cut off chunks for the mandibles to grab. For that part to be a little bit more automated, or maybe it is something where you can have multiple people piloting those drones and have, 10 people working on the same project. That could be a very fun game loop to have with a group of friends, or if you can put NPCs on it, to do yourself, and to have that monotony aspect a little bit less, and to allow yourself to just do the fun parts that you want. I think that's going to be huge for productivity. And when you're talking about salvage and scrapping, basically, I mean, I used to scrap metal when I was doing construction, and I still do some scrapping. And the key to make it worth your time is to be able to scale up, which makes a lot of sense why this is a capital ship. The size that you need, the scale that you need to do in order for salvage to be profitable, is quite large. And so these things, the ability to mobilize, the ability to have large scale on site, and to automate or to coordinate multiple people working at the same time is huge for whoever has the D9. But then think about how the D9 dynamically would work with other guilds. If you were out there and were just the recycle facility, the guilds can bring scrap to you, and you can then buy it from them for a low price, refine it, and sell it for a little bit higher price. I mean, that is your value right there. That value proposition of convenience is phenomenal for you and for the guilds around you. So just like with the repair and rescue, if you're providing that service, a valuable service to other people, and my opinion is I would provide that to everybody, so that everyone has the incentive to not attack me, which would be good as a D9 because you don't have the same amount of defensive capabilities. But if you can create those relationships, you're now a symbiote of any other guild that comes in to that salvage area. You can be sort of the follow-up for a major battle operation. And it doesn't matter which side you're on. If you have good relationships with both sides, they're engaging in the battle that they want in order to control area, and you're able to come in and process the material for the winner, for whoever dominates the area, whatever it is. But there's a whole nother level of play loops that are generated from this symbiotic relationship. I think that's really cool. I'm nerding out right now, but I'm just gonna let it roll. And so then on top of that, like I said, the other people in other spaceships, say I have an R8, or I have an ohm, or a pack light, and I'm going out and I grab salvage because I know a D9 is in the area. I'm now be able to make some profit until I get my next job and find a place to ship from. So really, the D9 is in a way a mobile starbase. And there's the value that I think a lot of people have missed. It's just another ship. It's not just another ship, not this one. Am I going to buy it for the $30,000? Well, I don't exactly have $30,000 to make that purchase right now. But as far as its value and what it's able to do once the game actually starts, I believe this is going to be one of the more highly utilized ships out there. So definitely keeping my eye on it. I'm fascinated by its look. It looks like a tick, but it acts like a vulture. and it's got just really cool utility built into this, a lot of storage space, etc. It's a gnarly and neat looking ship in and of itself. So now that we've gone through that, let's go to a face to face. And here's my face. What I wanted to talk about next is Star Atlas the right game for you right now? If you're looking for a game that you can jump into and fly around in a spaceship, fight people out in space, dominate the universe, then right now is not the time to join Star Atlas. Just being honest, it's not here yet. That game is coming, and I'm very excited for when it does arrive, but that is not the type of game that you're playing right now with Star Atlas. Now, the first iteration of actual gameplay is going to come in the form of Scream and the showroom. Now, with Scream, you have what is a chess-like strategic game with a massive space to be able to play on, and you're moving your assets, you're gathering resources, you're working with other people in the community, other guild members, to coordinate actions. And that is a game genre that I actually thoroughly enjoy. So I'm very much looking forward to playing Scream. I would be involved in Star Atlas for that reason alone, but that's not the main game that Star Atlas is really putting out there. The AAA Unreal Engine 5 immersive game. And the first iteration of that is going to be what is called the showroom, and you'll be able to go in, walk around, interact with the marketplaces, interact with other players, and to actually see your ship, walk through the ship, really start to immerse yourself in the NFTs that you have. And that is going to be fun, but the flying around and shooting is not here right now. That is more towards the end of 2022. Now, there might be some flight simulation coming out, and seen some video footage of that, but it's not refined. You know, it's not AAA quality yet. So to keep your mind in that mind frame and knowing where the project is right now is important. Now, what I am excited about and what I'm enjoying thoroughly right now is playing the game that's already underfoot. And that part I'm talking about are the political games, the diplomatic side of Star Atlas. The community has already begun to pull together in really big ways, and they've created guilds. Now, there are guilds that are extremely complex and very well thought through. And there are some guilds that are still trying to pull things together. And so that creates a very interesting dynamic, and you have groups of people that are working together tightly, and then there's interactions in between guilds, whether it's symbiotic or it's competitive. There are some very real community-based interactions, and the discords, the Twitter spaces, there are a lot of social aspect to Star Atlas that is extremely entertaining just in and of itself. Now, in the game itself, there are 3 factions, and there's only Ooster and Mud, and some guilds have chosen to go with single factions and to keep all their members within one of those 3 factions. Each of those factions are naturally pitted against each other in competition, but some guilds have gone the route of encompassing all 3 factions in their guild. And so those are going to have some very different dynamics that are coming about. A lot of complexity, a lot of very well thought through plans. And so if you're looking for a very active community and you want to theory craft and come up with ideas, and as the development team releases more information, those ideas are very dynamic in themselves too, where you're coming up with new ideas and readjusting those plans that you had. You have things like the D9 that pop up and could change the entire game style of a group. And so that part of Star Atlas has been fascinating for me. I have really thoroughly enjoyed that. There's also the DeFi crypto aspect of Star Atlas that is very engaging. You have Atlas and Polis. You have several marketplaces that are now have active markets for that. And with the guilds, the other part of the guilds is not just what's working on inside internal plans, but there are projects that guilds have put together, like you have Coexist and Chimera and Rome. These are some great groups. The club, there's several guilds that have put together tools for the community to work with, that put out content for keeping people up to date with the upcoming news. And that really gives a lot of interaction, a lot of community to the game of Star Atlas. So the game is already underfoot. There are people that are playing games that aren't Star Atlas. They play Star Citizen. Play Star Solaris, Elite Dangerous. There's a handful of other games that have similar strategic and actual flight simulator skill building ability, and those guilds have come together and begun to train your skills. And so there's a lot that can be done for the purpose of Star Atlas on many other platforms. I know Bulk is a guild that I'm involved with that does that to a pretty large degree, and I think that's phenomenal. And so if that seems like the type of project, the type of community you want to be involved with, then Star Atlas is definitely a game that you want to be involved with. This has a lot of potential going forward. It has a very strong community behind it. There is a lot of development to have yet, and people that are very skeptical about how the development is going. That's very reasonable concerns, and something to keep your eye on, and to be careful about how you get into Star Atlas. But I have chosen to do so, and will continue to update people and give my opinions on that. So don't get involved in Star Atlas if you're not ready for what we have right now. If your eyes are set to the future, then hold off and wait. That's fine. The community is going to be here, and when it's time for you to join, you'll be welcomed with a warm embrace, and then maybe blown out of the sky. Who knows? But join when the time is right, when the game is at the point that you're ready for. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. Those are my opinions on it. I'm sticking to it, but don't worry about liking or subscribing. If you know somebody that this would help, then please share it with them. If you could do that, then today was a good day. Good morning, Metaverse.